Hey guys, this video we're going to review whole steps and half steps on the keyboard. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with you. All right, so remember that a half step is also known as a semitone, or another name for it is a minor second, and it is the distance from one key on the keyboard to the next adjacent key. Also, you could consider a half step the smallest distance between two notes. So, looking at the keyboard here, key 1, which is this white key, which we know to be C, to key 2, the black key, which we could call either C sharp or D flat, is a half step. There is no smaller distance between two notes. This is the closest note. Key 2 is the closest note to key 1. So a half step is not always from a white key to a black key. For example, in this instance, key 1, which would be E, to key 2, which would be F, is also a half step. And the reason it's a half step is there is nothing in between these two keys. This is a naturally occurring half step. A whole step, also known as a whole tone or a major second, is the same distance as two half steps put together. So for example, from key 1 to key 2 is a half step. All right, so C to C sharp is a half step. But from key 1 to key 3, C to D is a whole step because we have a half step in between. So two half steps make a whole step. Just a refresher, an accidental sign is a symbol that we use to alter the pitch by a half step. We have flats and we have sharps. We also have naturals. Remember that a flat lowers the note by a half step, while a sharp raises the note by a half step, and a natural, as you can review from the previous content pages, cancels out a sharp or a flat. So let's examine the black key in between C and D. This key could be called C sharp because it is touching the white key C and it's a half step higher than C. Or it could also be known as D flat because D is touching this key, but it is a half step lower than D. Another example of a half step would be E and F. E could also be called F flat since it is a half step below F. Likewise, F could also be called E sharp. Whenever a pitch has multiple names, it is called an enharmonic spelling. So for example, if we call this black key right here C sharp and or D flat, those two names, C sharp and D flat, are enharmonic spellings. They sound the same when you play them on the piano, they just have different names. Okay, and that is just a quick review on half steps and whole steps. So just to recap, when you are labeling half steps and whole steps on the piano, you know it's a half step if there is nothing in between the two notes. So if they are neighbor notes and there is nothing in between, it's a half step. If they are neighbor notes but there is something in between them, like another black key or another white key, then it is a whole step. I hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope that answers some of your lingering questions. You guys let me know if you need anything.